Hi everyone, it's your favourite atomic blonde here with a spot of Sunday lunch. So I am recording this week. As always, my life is very busy, but mainly it's hotter than the sun here in the UK. It is so hot. After a miserable July and August where pretty much all it's done is rain. The first week in September, it's been like 32 degrees consistently. So I'm recording in the morning while it's a little bit cooler. I've got the fan going, the windows open, and I am still melting. I'm sorry, I'm just looking around for my water, which I've not brought with me, so that's really helpful. So anyway, I wanted to kick off the show, just a sort of shout out really that unless you're under a rock, I think most people know that Nerd Erotic and the gang are in the UK this week, and we had the UK meetup on Wednesday, which was absolutely fantastic. It was such good fun. Here's my poster. Yeah, I think you've perhaps seen this. Yeah, it's proof. I was there. There's also photos on YouTube that I took of myself and some of the Facebook crew, Starry Eyed Girl, Ian, Char or Geeky, and I went to Swap Shop there, and numerous other YouTubers and fans and things. So had a couple of, have I seen you on this Facebook? And I'm like, yeah. So it was great. Obviously got to meet Gary, Drinker, X-Ray Girl, Garrett, Shad, Adam Kringler, who is one of the nicest men in the world. We were chatting about sort of Forbidden Frontiers and Ancient Aliens and things like that. But it was a great time. The only thing was that the venue was a bit funny around closing time. So in the UK, generally closing times is like 11, except at the weekend. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a lot of places open until midnight, 1-2 o'clock kind of thing. But normally kind of like you have to drink up by 11 and out by 11:30 generally is the rule. And they were like, boom, out the door at 11. There was still a queue for Gary. I was in that queue, but I did get an opportunity to quickly see him, say hello, and get a selfie. So thank you, Gary, for doing that. And because they were trying to herd us out, and he was still trying to sign things. But it was absolutely fabulous time. I really enjoyed myself, and say thanks to Gary and the crew, and say a big shout out to the Facebook gang. And I think we're going to get in together again soon because we had such a good time. But yeah, it was great, and it's kind of surreal kind of seeing them in the UK and seeing people standing up and having legs and everything. So had a fantastic time at the meetup. So sort of added to my usual busy week, but it was great fun. And I think if they do another one in the UK, or you have the opportunity to maybe go to the States, I highly recommend it. It's such good fun. It's a lovely crowd. There's quite a few people that obviously come along on their own, and everybody just say, because we all know we're there for the same thing. You've got things in common with everyone there, and if you talk to anyone, they will talk to you back. It was such a lovely vibe and atmosphere. I highly recommend it. So I will be getting this framed and up on the geek wall. I'm one of these people, a bit of a purist, that some people getting these signed, but I kind of just wanted it mint condition, as they say. So fantastic time at the meetup. There we go. So because of that, many other things in my life, I'm sort of struggling to stay on top, have time to watch things at the moment. So only just a couple of small reviews really, and just kind of what's going on in the big wide world of pop culture. So let's get underway. And up first, One Piece. So as often on this channel, there's some things I'm very much into, as you know, my K-dramas and sort of the Star Trek and Doctor Who and things like that. Anime is not one of them. Well, I sort of say that. I mean, anime is such a big genre in itself. There's so many multiple genres within anime. So I like things like Attack on Titan, a bit of Cowboy Bebop. The more sort of, I guess, adult actiony type animes, more my thing. So One Piece is something that wasn't on my radar at all. This is probably the more what I refer to. I mean, I know they're cartoon, but kind of cartoony rather than sort of adult, if that makes sense to anybody. Type show. So I wasn't aware of it. I hadn't heard of it. So this is a complete normie review. So apologies. But obviously feel free to disagree with me. Always happy for a bit of discord on this channel. So yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I did sort of just do a bit of Googling, not even really what it was about per se, but sort of just looking at the characters. And I think in the main, looking at the actors versus the cartoon characters, the casting seemed pretty good, in my opinion, in terms of how they've matched people up. The lead girl in it is probably the one that looks least like her character, but what woman looks like an anime woman? Maybe K-pop girls are probably the closest to something anime. But she was very good. She was good. She had the potential to be annoying and sassy and usual girl boss. And she's a little bit like that, but she's a very rounded character. She's actually flawed. All of these characters have great backstories, which this season goes into. So you understand why, and she's very independent, but there's obviously there's really good reasons behind all of that. It goes obviously into her childhood and what's happened to her and why she's ended up where she is, and it all kind of makes sense. And actually, behind all that kind of brash and harshness, there's a very sort of nice but damaged sort of person. So that was kind of like a pleasant surprise. So overall, I'd say it's not the sort of thing I'd normally watch, but I did enjoy it. I did find it quite good. I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever seen. I'm not sure I'd probably even rewatch it, but it was fun and entertaining. And I think that is the biggest thing missing from our TV at the moment and films. You sort of sit down and watch something that's entertaining. And for me, it absolutely ticked the box. I sort of put on one, and then before I knew it, I'd watched all of them. I say the characters are, say, very good, very well rounded. Now I know it comes from a huge back catalogue of source material, so you would expect that to happen. But I think, like most people going into this after the catastrophic disaster of Cowboy Bebop, I think everybody's expectations were quite low. But something unheard of happened at Netflix, that they like, oh, we heard what you said about Cowboy Bebop and we listened. And we changed our approach, which is absolutely gobsmacking. So the creator is very heavily involved in this. Basically, I think it's a he, that he had the final say on every decision. And it leans, I believe, very closely into the source material. Apparently there are some changes. Obviously I couldn't tell you what those were, but it wasn't like anything felt out of place, or there was something that felt clearly shoehorned in, which is good. So I think they must have done a good job, whatever they have changed. But yeah, there's some well-known names in there. But yeah, I just found it really fun, and I think it's something that you can watch as an adult, but I think it's also probably not young kids, because obviously there's a bit of violence in there, being anime, and like there's sort of sword fights and people getting slashed open and legs cut off and things like that. But I think sort of teenage upwards, you could all watch this together, kind of thing. So yeah, I was actually really pleasantly surprised with like how good this was. So, but it did really, not sort of surprised that when you were sort of reading the critics' reviews of this, was that their number one complaint was that basically it was entertaining and there was no message in it. There was so much opportunity to lean into racism and gender and this, that, and the other thing, and they completely just gave fan service and stuck to the source material. Like what were they thinking? And lo and behold, this is doing really well. I can believe. But the biggest complaint from critics was there's no message in this. But actually, there is, I wouldn't say a message, but it's like how TV used to be made. You know, you've got this group of like fish people who used to be slaves. They're not slaves anymore, kind of taking revenge on their previous colonizers. So it's kind of in there, but it's, as it used to be, it's just being told as a story and sort of holding the mirror up to sort of say, you know, around slavery and stuff. And it just proves you don't need to go around hitting everybody around the head with a 10 before to talk about the message. You know, you can teach children about these things without it being, you know, just rammed down your throat. So I think kudos and well done to Netflix. It looks like they've got a big hit on their hands, which will probably lead to a season 2. I would have thought. I'd be surprised if there's not, if the numbers are true. And I say that obviously after what we've heard with Rotten Tomatoes this week, which colour me surprised. I don't think anybody was shocked to find out that the Rotten Tomatoes scores have been rigged. You know, when you're sort of seeing just like utter things like She-Hulk getting like 80-90% reviews, you're just like, no. So anyway, goes at a good pace, does a really good job of building up all the characters, what their backstories are. And I think in this poster here, this sort of these 5 characters are the core characters, and they're all introduced in season 1. And so you have a really good understanding of their motives, their drivers, which is something Asian, which I've talked about obviously on my when I talk about K-dramas. They do really well in Asia. Like they set them up, how quickly you get a measure of the character, what drives them, what their morals are, why they're there. They're really, really good at setup in Asia. So whether that's Korea or Japanese TV, anime, manga, etc. So yeah, I definitely say check it out. As I say, it's not something I'd normally watch. I did enjoy it. So it was just good fun. So it's not going to be the best thing, and it's not going to blow your mind, I don't think. But hey, if you just want something entertaining, stick on a hot, sunny Sunday afternoon, I recommend One Piece. Go, take a look. Let me know what you think in the comments, as always. Moving on. Oh, gosh, my favourite show. So obviously I reviewed the first episode a couple of weeks ago. I haven't bothered watching anymore because I was so bored to tears. Obviously, I just want to put, so this is from The Guardian, which again, for those who don't know, is a very left-wing paper here in the UK, who have always like obviously sort of championed the sort of Disney and the message type TV. This gave it a 2-star rating, a Shoka review. More bad Star Wars in a galaxy too far away to care about. Despite great potential for its all-female trio, the latest space series takes our interest in the franchise for granted. Even the David Tennant voice droid is a missed opportunity. Absolutely. I mean, the direction that the cast seem to have got from Filoni or whoever else was directing it is just like, show no emotion, have no tone in your voice, be as flat as possible. The best thing by Country Mile is the late Ray Stevenson. He stands out so much in this show, and he's really not got a lot. He's obviously, because he's a man, he doesn't have a lot of screen time, doesn't have a lot to say, but when he does, he absolutely outplays everybody on the screen. His character's interesting. You want to know, why is he a fallen Jedi? Why is he returned to the Sith? Why after all those years of fighting against the Empire would he be looking for Thrawn? So really interesting. Again, everybody's like, ooh, so spoilers if anybody's not watched episode 4. Anakin makes an appearance right at the very end. I think most people are saying it's not Anakin, which I agree with. It appears Ahsoka's in the World Between Worlds, which again you would have had to have watched Rebels, I think, or Clone Wars to even know what that is. So it's taken 4 episodes to get to an episode that people have kind of gone, yeah, it's all right, or it's the best one we've had so far, even though there's still lots wrong with the episode and stupid choices and plot holes galore. But the whole Anakin thing at the end, but it just doesn't have the impact as it did when the first time they brought back Luke Skywalker. Obviously, the ratings are poor. You saw the first episode, 1.2 million over 6 days in the US. Disney are trying to, Lucasfilm are trying to spin this and say 14 million people have watched it. You know, stumbling across it on your Disney and it starts playing automatically doesn't make it 14 million views. So, but obviously this has not had the impact that they were hoping. I think the next episode or the next couple of episodes are going to be in the cinema. They've dropped Disney Plus subscriber rates to $1.99 for 3 months to try and get people to come and watch Ahsoka and The Little Mermaid. Disney shares dropped to under $80 this week, I think briefly, but they did go down to $79, which is unheard of. You know, it's like every Sunday lunch, you know, Disney's on fire and it's on the verge of burning down completely. And kind of the sad thing is nobody cares. They've driven away their fan base. They've been vile to the fans. And the fans that once loved Disney, Lucasfilm, are now like, well, you didn't want us. You made your bed, off you pop. Get your 300,000 that watch these shows and, you know, have fun. So, who knows? Who knows what is going to happen with Disney next? How much longer does Bob Iger have a job? I mean, to be fair, given the mess of Disney, who on earth would want to step into those shoes? I really don't know. But they cannot afford to make another bomb, that's for sure. I'm looking at the slate coming up. Hey, the Marvels, can't wait. And Echo dropping. They are in big trouble. I'm trying to think if Lucasfilm has announced the next show after Ahsoka. Whether we'll get an Andor season 2 remains to be seen, I guess. Kenobi's probably shelved. Mandalorian season 4, assume. But whether they were supposed to be sort of venturing back into films, and this is supposed to be a platform for the next film. If nobody's watching this, who's going to go watch the film? They are in big trouble. All of their own making. But, you know, like I say, it seems to be open season now. That, like I say, if the Guardian's coming out and giving it 2 stars, a lot of other media are now actually coming out and saying Marvel stuff, actually, it's not very good. We saw that with Secret Invasion. We're seeing it with Lucasfilm. We're seeing it picks up that the gloves are kind of, or basically the blinkers are off and people are starting to tell the truth. So let's see. We'll sit there with our tub of popcorn waiting to see how all this plays out. But yeah, I mean, I reckon we'll probably get a good, interesting 5th episode, and then it'll go off a cliff. The final episode will be rubbish, because that seems to be the formula with most Lucasfilm offering of TV shows these days. It's like boring, member berry, pretty good episode, stupid season finale that just riddled with plot holes and just stupidity that you just go, what, why, would, whatever. But do we care? And it's just, it kills me inside. Kills me. I love, growing up with Star Wars, seeing it at cinema, seeing the state it's in, it just breaks my heart every time. But what can we do? K-drama time. So I spoke a couple of weeks ago about the Devil's Judge, which is the one in the Korean writing, obviously. I basically 2 episodes in. This one is in Korean. It's not dubbed, hence why I'm only 2 episodes in. So far, so good. It's quite interesting. Just recap. So it's sort of in the near future. The kind of Korean judiciary system is kind of in collapse, that there's so much corruption and bribery that if you're just rich, basically you can get off with doing anything. The people have lost faith in any kind of justice. They don't believe that, that doesn't seem to be any consequences for, you know, if you're a certain class or have a certain status. So they've come up with this concept of sort of public trials on TV, which, you know, isn't too far. We have those, but the critical thing is that the public gets to decide whether that person is guilty or innocent. And they basically start off with a show trial that's against a corporation, a chemical plant that had a chemical leak, and as a result, a town's kind of been decimated. A number of people have died through like poisoning of the water. There's X amount critically ill in hospital still, and they're all going to have lifelong medical issues, respiratory issues. You know, so from young children through to like pretty much young children, elderly have been most affected. And they're basically prosecuting this chemical company. We kind of see, you know, how all this is being put together, and the prosecution and the defense. And the defense is very much like, look, we'll steer it in a certain direction, because they're basically trying to try them for murder and sort of negligence murder. They're like, but we can steer it in a certain direction. If we go down this route and it's just, you know, some sort of negligence, the most you'll get is 5 years as the CEO. Don't worry about it. We've got it covered. And then with good behavior, you'll be out in a year kind of thing. But that's the worst case. But, you know, we'll probably get you off. So they kind of agreed to this. Now, the sort of one of the characters in it, he's a young judge, very idealistic. He's sort of gone in there to try and change the system and try and make it fairer. He's not from a wealthy background. We don't know a great deal about his background yet, other than I think his father self-deleted because he lost all his money in a fraud scam. And again, I don't think there was like anyone was brought to justice over this. So he has a professor that obviously I think he was under at law school, and they're trying to establish whether this thing's genuine or is it just another layer of corruption. And we kind of see that things are orchestrated to go a certain way for this CEO to get the ruling that he was kind of like, worst case scenario, you're going to get 5 years. But then the judge, and he seems to be involved with certain politicians and things. They've all kind of agreed this is what the outcome is going to be. But then, so the public find him guilty, but then it's down to the judge to say what the sentencing is. And then based on a new ruling that came in, let's say like the year before, based on impact of victims or such and such, even though for what you're found guilty of, it would be 5 years. However, I'm putting on additional sentencing for each of the victims, and this comes out at 235 years. So this CEO is just absolutely like shell shocked and is like you said it would only be 5 years, blah 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 blah. So we're kind of left saying like, is this judge a good guy or a bad guy? Because everything we've seen so far, he seems like he's not a good guy, that he was involved with bribing and getting certain testimonies and driving the case a certain way. But then he then layers in this huge sentence. So the jury's kind of still out, and that's pretty much what sees the episode 2 is that the young judge is talking to his professor and saying, I can't get a measure on this. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. So he's going to carry on investigating. Obviously, there's going to be other trials, but this judge seems to have a pretty twisted background as well. We kind of keep seeing these sort of flashbacks. So far, so good. It's again quite intriguing, like a lot of these K-dramas are. Very interesting premise. Excited to see where this one goes. But 2 episodes in, so far, so good. But I say it is in Korean, so I know some people don't like subtitles, but I would urge you to give these a go. Business Proposal is obviously much more light-hearted. It's more of I was trying to give you a bit of a drama and a rom-com one. So this is a rom-com one. And as I say, they're like very predictable. Like they all kind of start the same way. They all kind of end the same way. But it's kind of what happens in the middle. Again, very light-hearted, good fun. We see the lead actress there. She's also in Uncanny Counter, which I promoted on this channel. which again, great. Go check that one out. It's 2 seasons. She's a food developer, I guess, researcher, and works for a big Korean food producing. I'm not sure if it's like BB Go or Bye Bye Go, but you can buy the dumplings over here. They're very nice. But she works. It's a real company, but obviously sort of fictitious version of it. She works there. One of her best friends is actually sort of an heiress. Her father's very wealthy, and he's trying to set her up on various blind dates because they still have arranged marriages in Korea, especially for the wealthy class. So obviously bring like families together and their wealth and such and forth. And so she asks her. So her wealthy friend asks her to go on a blind date. They have this thing that she goes on blind dates and acts a bit mental or possessed or something like that to basically put the suitors off. So she agrees to go do this blind date, not knowing that actually it's with her new boss, her new CEO, who's just come back from the States, running the division in the States, taking over from his grandfather. And then this whole thing kind of spirals out. So then he basically finds out, or they confess that she's not the real heiress and she was pretending for her friend. Then he gets the idea that they go into a contract that she pretends to be his girlfriend so he can get his grandfather off his back. He's a workaholic. He's not interested in getting married. He just wants to run the company. But if he's got a pretend girlfriend, that would make his grandfather happy for a while. So she agrees to do this, but obviously over the course of time, they actually like fall for each other. And there's lots of like, in all these things, there's some misunderstandings. There's a subplot with her best friend and his secretary, who's a man. That's quite common in Korea. He's like adopted brother. So they kind of get together. But it's again lots about the sort of and then they have this fictitious K-drama that's on that everybody's addicted to, and it's kind of always playing out their story. There's a wealthy businessman who falls for a chicken shop owner because her parents run a chicken shop and she's below his status, so they're all like, so you're kind of watching this K-drama alongside this K-drama, but it's just really good fun, very light-hearted. Again, like a lot of K-dramas, it's from a webtoon, so there's a little bit of cartooniness in there, which could be a little bit, and she makes some really stupid decisions. She can be a little bit irritating at times. It's like why are you reacting like that, or why are you doing that? But there's a little bit, contrivance to drive the storyline. But it was just, again, very light-hearted, good to watch. This one is in English. Hence why I kind of had this one on, that I could do other stuff in the background. But I really enjoyed it. It was good fun, light-hearted, and happy endings all round. Misses. So do check those out. So The Devil's Judge and Business Proposal. Moving on. Yeah, so with another week, another Disney crisis, and the strike rumbles on. So some good news, I think. That good old Zaslav has come out. As we said, the strike is absolutely giving the studios opportunity to get out of these ridiculous contracts. And Warner Bros. Suspended deals with, as you can see there, Mindy Kaling, Greg Berlanti, J.J. Abrams. So that $500 million that they paid him, and he's not actually made a single thing. I hope there's a clawback in these contracts that they get their money back. But yeah, really interesting to see. It's pretty much the woke mob. So damn, we won't be getting any more Velma. Oh, tragic, hey? After season, as if season 2 even happens now, right? Let's hope that's permanently shelved. Yeah, so really interesting. I think it's, let's not get too excited. They could bring them back or unsuspend these contracts when the strike is over. That would be an absolute travesty. But you'd like to think that maybe the writing's on the wall a bit here. Obviously, Staslav was the first one out of the gate and getting rid of Batgirl and sort of making some quite noticeable changes. He's there to make money, and he's probably looked at the books in these shows and they don't make me money. Fair play to the dude. So I guess it's kind of watch this space a bit here, but Hollywood absolutely imploding right now. I'm kind of at that point, like I don't think there's much left to say. You know, it's quite interesting that the studios keep leaking that we're making offers. They're not even being put forward to the union members. They're not getting to vote on them. So yeah, I mean, again, who do you believe? I'm sure they are making offers. The offer that was leaked does seem to me a lot of what they want, but they're sort of saying that, you know, if you're not going to come to the table or negotiate, this strike's never going to be over, right? So, and the studios themselves are in, as much as they have more money they can hold out, we know they're all massively in debt. CBS's shares are in the toilet. Coming on to like sort of Star Trek Day, and I put a tweet out, I don't know if you guys saw it, that the poster for Star Trek Day, yet again, completely disrespecting the ledge that is Shatner, wasn't even on it. No Leonard Nimoy, no William Shatner. You know, you got all the, I think the only one, I think you had Anderson Mount at the front and Patrick Stewart, but everything else, you know, and there's like the Uhura attacked at the back, the only kind of representation of TOS. But it's the 57th anniversary of the first episode of Star Trek, the original series, and they haven't even got Captain Kirk in the poster. It just beggars belief. This guy's in like 93, you know, and they just can't show him an ounce of respect. I was watching Rob Sebastian's just before coming on the stream, and R&B was reading that. It's a great article actually about Captain Kirk and how he's kind of his image, I think called Kirk drift, and how his image is portrayed, his character's image is portrayed in pop culture now as this sort of womanizing, almost male bimbo. But actually, if you go back and look at Kirk, there's nothing to support that. You know, there's when this article goes through and lists the girlfriends that he had, they're all kind of explained in canon as like sort of long-term relationships or serious relationships. There's nothing to suggest he was cheating on anybody. So it's kind of, they've built this image to almost shove him out because he's quite outspoken, as you should be at 93. You've earned the right to say what you think, I think. But this whole kind of how Kirk is perceived as some sort of toxic masculine role model, there's absolutely no evidence or anything to back it up, you know. And it's sad, it's disrespectful, and you know, if that's the attitude of Paramount and CBS still, you kind of go, well, are things going to get any better? But then there's obviously been rumors, and rumors are rumors, but there's like crisis talks happening that they're trying to get secret hideout out. They don't want to make Section 31. They don't want to make Safe Space Academy because nobody wants it, and they financially are in such bad shape that they cannot afford to make another failure. I think they were betting high on season 2 of Strange New Worlds. That's not delivered. That's gone off a cliff. I mean, I wasn't a fan of season 1, but it's head and shoulders better than season 2, where they're constant dumbing down and making Spock out to be a complete moron. I just can't. It hurts my head. So so if it's true, so you got CBS potentially in CBS, Viacom, Paramount in crisis talks, realizing that they've actually destroyed their brand. You've got Disney destroyed their brands, plural. You've got the WB appearing to be clearing house. You know, I don't think we're quite at rock bottom yet, but Hollywood's getting close. So interesting times, really interesting to see. because it's all well and good this is happening, but it's what it gets replaced with, right? it could get worse, who knows? But I think they've finally worked out that this stuff doesn't make money. There's a market for it, sure, and yeah, if you want shows with the message in it, make some shows for that audience, but just don't put it in blooming everything. Just have some entertainment and science fiction that has science fiction in it. Yeah, bit of science. Anyways, lastly, I stumbled across this. I hadn't heard anything about this, and I saw on Script Doctors. So this is I picked up from Script Doctor on X or Flash Twitter. Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Now, I get this image doesn't tell you much, but go check out the trailer. It is on YouTube. It's on Apple. As you know, I'm quite a big advocate of Apple. Not perfect. There is some cringe stuff on there, but there's more good shows than bad. There's quite a few shows I've recommended over the last couple of years, probably, in terms of Apple TV. Bit of a dark horse. So this is, I think, a joint production, but it's American, but with a lot of Asian cast. And it's basically a Godzilla story. It sort of carries on from Godzilla versus the Titans, I believe. So people know now that monsters are real. They've seen King Kong, they've seen Godzilla. And it's about this sort of family who I think then sort of try and seek out the origins of like Godzilla and Kong, etc., and sort of try and find out this sort of where this comes from and the Monarch. But the trailer looks really good. I think it's got Kurt Russell, John Goodman, and it looks interesting. It could be great fun. So I've got a little bit more faith in Apple than if this was coming out on some other channels. But yeah, completely blindsided by this. I had no idea this was happening. Let me just see if I can get a bit more on the backstory here. Legacy of Monsters. Here we go. Yeah, so the blurb is, again, not a lot here. Pretty much what I said, actually. Set after battle between Godzilla and the Titans, revealing that monsters are real, follows one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and a legacy linking them to the Monarch. Doesn't say who the Monarch is, I have to say. But yeah, so it's just episode 1, November 17th, so not too far away. But I would suggest, it looks like some de-aging of Kurt Russell going on. And let me just share this with you that I'm looking at on IMDb. Here we go. There we go. So obviously you can see some of the trailer here. I need to be a bit careful. I don't want to get striked. So there's no sound, so I hope I might just get away with it a little bit. Hopefully there'll be a picture of Godzilla anytime. There we go. It's like monsters. Yeah, so de-aged Kurt Russell there. So if I just come pan down a bit, like that's obviously Godzilla here, which looks pretty good CGI. Actually, looks pretty fair. And then some photos here again. De-aged Kurt Russell, Godzilla, and the cast. As you can see, there's quite an Asian cast in there, which I'd expect to see if they're talking about Godzilla. But a mix of same American cast, Asian cast. So yeah, but like I say, been completely blindsided by this coming out. Is there more on the storyline down there? No. Okay, but yeah, it looks promising. I think Script Doctor as well said he thought it looked quite promising. Yeah, so I mean the CGI looks fairly decent for a change. Interesting. yeah, so we will have to wait and see if that actually turns out to be any good. But say Apple, I have a little bit more faith in. Like some of their stuff's a bit hooky, but generally their sort of sci-fi stuff has been pretty good so far that I've watched. I was going to talk about Silo. Yeah, so promising. Don't know where it came from. It's probably been announced for ages, but yes, I saw this trailer. Do go check it out. Let me know what you think. Are you interested? Do you think it's going to be a horrible American, completely get it wrong? I mean, the Godzilla movies have been massively hit and miss that have come out of Hollywood. Obviously, the Asian ones are great, but yeah, actually a bit excited to see if. I mean, I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. Love his stuff. Even the Santa films on Netflix, but yeah, he's obviously a bit of an 80s icon. You can see up there. Oh, sorry, what was I? That one there. Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite films. Absolutely love that film. I must watch it once every few months or so. Good Saturday afternoon, fancy a bit of a giggle, stick on Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, so quite excited. It's quite good when you stumble across these things that you didn't know were coming. So something to look forward to, especially now. I'm not going to get my June 2 in November. Not happy at all. Hey ho, thanks, writer's strike. Anyways, so that's it. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. My head's all over the place right now, but really wanted to get a show out. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And do send me some comments. What do you think of the shows? Do you agree with me? Are you looking forward to this Godzilla thing? Have you even heard of it? I know a lot of people don't have Apple TV, but I think they're gradually getting there with content. Or sort of, I think the biggest problem they have is volume of content. You know, if you're paying for a subscription and there's probably only about half a dozen shows that you're going to watch, you know, but they are taking their time and building up hopefully quality over quantity. But there's some good shows. I think Ted Lasso, Silo, Severance. I cannot wait for season 2 of Severance. I think this is the biggest problem with like streaming shows. It seems to take so long for the second season to come out that by the time it does, people have lost interest, haven't got time to go rewatch the first season, and season 2 kind of just goes off a cliff. They really need to work out getting their stuff out annually, like how it used to be. They used to manage to get like 26 episodes out every year. All they've got to do is 10. How hard is it? Seriously, people. But anyway, I'll get myself off on another rant. But anyway, enjoy the sunshine here if you're in the UK. Do be careful. Like I say, it's going to be 32 degrees today. I think it's the last day of super heat. We're just back down into the 20s next week. Yeah, and I think as Nerdoronic has found out what it's like to be in 32-degree heat when you don't have aircon in this country. It's not nice. So I think I'm getting redder and warmer as this show has gone on. Anyway, as saying, have a great weekend and a great week, and I should be back next week. I think I have got family staying, so might be a bit hit and miss, but I will definitely try and get something up, even if it's just a short one, to check in with you guys and see how you're all doing. So again, hi to anybody I met at the UK meetup. It was lovely to meet you. And thanks for supporting the channel and supporting this Facebook channel. It means a lot to all of us, and we were kind of quite taken, especially Starry-Eyed Girl. I think she, the amount of people came up to her and went, "Are you Starry-Eyed Girl?" It was amazing to see. It was lovely. So anyway, as always, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.